and pulled us in, invited us in some way. What was our particular qualification? Absolutely nothing. Spiritually, nothing. We can have so many qualifications, but it says here that whatever your material qualification, Lord Nityananda will cure you. We think that our material qualification is so important. And it could be that we get an MBE, OBE, a lordship, become an earl or a duke, get this job, that job, the CEO, CFO, whatever title it is that makes us feel good in the eyes of others, that we get the approbation of our peers and our family. But what does that mean? Nothing in the light of eternity. Absolutely nothing. And Lord Nityananda is trying to help us understand that, and that's what compassion is. And not only that, trying to help us find a way out of that. He's giving us something positive that we can relate to through his compassion. And his ability to appreciate our condition. And because of that ability, that's why we can connect with Lord Nityananda. If we want to connect with Lord Chaitanya, if we want to connect with Radha Krishna and Vishwanath and Narottam Das and Lochan Das and all these acharyas writing these bhajans, this is what they're writing about. If you want to make a connection with Radha and Krishna, you have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And that's because he will qualify us to have a relationship with ourselves. And that's the song of Narottam Das Thakur, where he sees where people are so lacking in compassion that they can't be compassionate with themselves, Narottam Das says. We can't even see our own self-interest. We're persecuting ourselves. Lord Nityananda, he will help us appreciate ourselves as servants of Krishna, to act like servants of Krishna. Unless we can understand ourselves, we can't really have a relationship with anyone that has any value to it at all, that isn't simply exploitative, that isn't simply sharing the suffering. Misery, they say, loves company. So when we see someone who's happy, we prefer them to be miserable. To break through that takes a tremendous amount of energy, and that energy comes from Lord Nityananda. And he's with us all the time. When I was about 16, I read a book called Be Here Now by Baba Ram Das. Hands up anyone who ever heard of that book. Oh, a few, okay. Good. So in that book, which had limited value, but some, I read that the guru is called, the original guru is called Chaita Guru, the guru in the heart. And I understood, it said if you appeal to the Chaita Guru, it didn't say who the Chaita Guru was, it just said a concept, Chaita Guru. If you appeal to the Chaita Guru, then a guru will manifest outside. So from that time I started to pray for guidance, that some manifestation someone will come and help me that I can relate to. And it was only after I joined the temple that I found that Lord Nityananda was this Chaita Guru. That he is the Chaita Guru. If we want guidance, we want instruction, we want help, he's the person to go to in every instance, because he is the most compassionate. I may have told the story here before about the first time we had a big convention in Russia in 1996. It was just an opportunity that was given to us that we could organize a big mela. So we organized this big thing, and 1,200 devotees came. It was huge, massive big marquee. And so many devotees came from around the world, and devotees who hadn't been to Russia before. Russia was still quite, not many devotees had been there. It had just opened up from the Soviet times, just some years before. And Jayapataka Swami went there for the first time. He was able-bodied at that time. He used to always have these big whumpers that he used clash together. It was quite a performance. And So him coming was a big thing. And a lot of other Swamis came again for the first time. And we had a class one morning, Bhagavatam class. The tent was packed full of people. And there was a big high asan, like this with an asan in the middle, except it was higher and much wider, much bigger. So he was like he was on an aircraft carrier, sitting on his asan. And he was saying his stories. He tells stories, wonderful storyteller. And as he tells the story, it gets more and more dramatic. And he was talking about Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And he said, "Who is more merciful than Lord Chaitanya? Who is more merciful than Lord Chaitanya?" There was dead silence, 1,200 people. You could hear a pin drop. And in the middle, this old Russian lady, this babushka, says, "Nityananda." And the whole place just erupted in laughter, including Maharaj, because that was the actual answer. She thought she was being asked a question. It was obviously rhetorical. But it is true. Lord Nityananda is considered the most compassionate because by the grace of Nityananda, we get the association of Lord Chaitanya. By the grace of Nityananda, we get the association of Radha and Krishna. We have to get his blessings. And Lord Nityananda will help us. He'll instruct us. He'll guide us if we ask for it. We simply have to put our hand up, that's all. We just tentatively put our hand up and he just grabs our arm and yanks us out. He's so enthusiastic. He wants us to be the servant of the Sankirtan mission. He wants us to be in Vrindavan serving Radha Krishna. He wants to give us every opportunity. And we want to take every opportunity not to, once we understand what the price is. The price is our heart. And we've given our heart already to so many people and so many things. We've given our heart to our beloved. And, we're together forever, darling, and all that stuff. Well, we know that that's bogus. You're together for 30 years, 40, 50, that's really good. But, after that, we're not. So, who is the Lord of our heart? Where do we put our heart? That's what the word Shraddha, faith as we call it, faith. But it means where do we place our heart? That's what Shraddha means, the placing of the heart. And Lord Nityananda helps us place our heart, helps prepare our heart to receive, to understand that we can become the person who can be a servant of Lord Chaitanya. And consequently, to become a servant of the Sankirtan mission. Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. There's all glories to this Sankirtan mission, Lord Chaitanya says. In that first verse of the Shikshastakam, he just says that this is the mission. This is the thing to do. This is the thing that will burn away all the difficulties we have. This will establish us as devotees. And how do we do it? Well, we do it by Trinadapi Sunichina. We do it by being more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. Amanina, Madanina, to offer all respect unto others and expect none for ourselves. That's Nityananda. That's the person who can help us to do this. Because that's very difficult. It's very difficult to give all respect to others. We reserve so much for ourselves. So to practice this, to be members of the Sankirtan movement, and it's a movement, it's a dynamic thing. It's not an institution. It's not bricks and mortar. It's not a legal fiscal entity registered with the Charity Commission. It's a movement that takes place in our hearts. And it's dynamic. It's always going. And we have the opportunity to be part of it. And to be part of it, if we understand Lord Nityananda, if we approach Lord Nityananda and ask for him to help us. This is the basic message of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, as Prabhupada said, is our high school introductory to spiritual life. So what's the first thing that happens? The scene is set. We understand we're on the battlefield. The conch shells are blown. And what happens next? Arjuna has a nervous breakdown. And he turns to Krishna and he asks Krishna for help. Without Arjuna asking for help, there is no Bhagavad Gita. That's the beginning of Arjuna's transformation. That's the beginning of the message of bhakti in the whole of the Mahabharata, the hundreds of thousands of shlokas in the Mahabharata, and, or did I say hundreds of thousands? Thousands. About 100,000. Such a vast literature. And this is the text that delves into bhakti. And is totally dependent on this question. Please, will you help me? And that's the essence of spiritual life. Trinadapi sunichina. To be humble enough to ask for help. It's not easy to do. And partly because if we ask, we might actually get it. And we kind of know what that means. That means our life is going to be transformed. Krishna is going to take charge. Lord Nityananda will start to rearrange the furniture in our heart and in our head. That's just a bit scary because we're not in control anymore. There was a certain trajectory to our life, we thought, miserable and all as it was, but it was my life. Every evening I could sit down with a cup of tea and a biscuit, and that's happiness. Lord Nityananda, eternal bliss, that's what the word means. That's what he's offering. Forget your cup of tea and a biscuit. There's something else on offer. But there's a cost to pay. It's such a minor cost. And Nityananda will rearrange our lives. Once, we only have to ask once, sincerely, with our heart. And everything else happens automatically. And even if we say, no, I was only kidding, it's already too late. He's on it. Because he's just waiting for that moment, that invitation, so that he can start to work with us. That relationship, he wants that relationship. And he'll develop that relationship for us, even though we're incapable of it. He'll train us up how to have that relationship, how to relate to Lord Chaitanya, how to relate to Radha Krishna, how to relate to anyone. Because as Sankirtan devotees, if we're part of the Sankirtan mission, our mission is to share what we have, what we've been given, to give it away immediately. Again, that's a bit of a thing. You get a bit of a spiritual insight, a little bit of relief from suffering. You don't want to give it away. I have it now. It's taken me so long to get here. But actually we've been asked, no, give it away. It's not ours. Joy isn't ours. It's everyone's. Krishna's given it liberally. There's no ownership of joy, of Ananda. It's just for everyone. It's just given. Take it. And when you get it, immediately give it away. Why? Because that's what happened to me. Someone gave it to me. So, you give it, I give it to someone else. Then I'm doing the right thing. Then you're part of the chain. Don't be the bottleneck. We have to learn how to give what little we have. And look at the instruction that Lord Nityananda was given. Lord Chaitanya said, just tell them to chant Krishna, worship Krishna, follow his instructions. He said, just tell them to do that. He was just going out, just telling them to do that. Lord Nityananda was a very intelligent guy. He could have had a big philosophical discourse with them. There's so many things that could have, transactions that could have happened. But he just went and implored them, please, just chant, just worship Krishna, just follow his instructions. By dint of the fact that he took the effort to go to people's homes and knock on the door. And he was welcomed somewhere, abused somewhere, he didn't care because he gave the message. He gave the mercy. The mercy was given. It's like COVID. It was an infection. Once he appeared at the door and they answered it, the infection entered their home. They answered the door. It's like vampires. You're letting them in. You just let them in. That's all he wants. The material circumstance is of no consequence to Nityananda, as we've seen. He was an avaduta. Lord Chaitanya would come into a room and Nityananda would be chanting and dancing around the room with his clothes all wrapped around his head, totally naked. Lord Chaitanya would have to take his turban off and put it around him, wrap him around. Oh, God. But they'd all laugh. He didn't care about any material circumstance, but that's our guarantee. He doesn't judge us. He doesn't see these things. He doesn't see the sins of Jagai and Madai. He's not interested. He's only interested in now what? Now chant. Now worship. Now listen to the instruction. Every moment is a moment to transform. Every moment is a moment to change. For every devotee we have that moment relived again and again. Every moment in our life is a moment to turn to Lord Nityananda and say, help. And we should be doing it every day. I have a telephone on my desk in my office. My office is a stressful kind of a place. And it's an old phone from the 1930s. I found out it was actually made in Ilford in East Sussex in Essex in 1936. These old Bakelite phones. It's not connected to anywhere, but I know it's connected to God. It's my direct line to God, to Lord Nityananda in particular, actually. And every now and then things get so frustrating, I just take up that phone and I go, help! And put it down. Such a relief. We have to constantly ask for help because we're constantly blowing it. We're constantly getting up in the morning and trying and blowing it again. We always do some stupid thing, and at the end of the day we're thinking, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done that, and I should have said that. And that's perfectly okay, that's normal, that's life. But to constantly ask for help means that we're improving. It means we're understanding our deficiency. And we're reaching out. And Lord Nityananda will be the person who's there to help, because he will tremble with us in our worst moments, in our best moments. And worst and best for him doesn't mean anything. Our idea of worst and best is really silly from his point of view. It has no significance. Our best is we get an iPad or a BMW or whatever. Our worst is that she left me. How many of us have had breakups, in your teenage years, the dramatic years? You have multiple breakups. It's really not the end of the world. But at the moment, with the Romeo and Juliet, they committed suicide. It's so intense at that time with all these hormones running around and not knowing how the world works, and oh my God, I've fallen in love for the first time. You have these feelings, you don't know what's going on, but I can't let go of this, I have to have it. She's gone. So even looking back from this time in my life, it's just laughable. But at the time it wasn't laughable, it was the worst thing that ever happened in the world. Lord Nityananda is looking at our life now like that. It's kind of laughable. But because he's an Avadhuta, he doesn't laugh. He just wants to embrace us at any time in our life. He just wants to grab us and embrace us and keep us there. And he wants us to come forward and be embraced. And that's his life, and that's his soul, and that's why he has come. He's come for us. There's no other reason for him to come. We can see as an Avadhuta, he's not interested in this world. He's just wandering around, chanting. When it was described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that he was Lord Nityananda, there were Haridas Thakur, when he was complaining to Advaita, he was complaining about the three drunk people, Jagai, Madai, and Nityananda. Jagai and Madai were drunk on alcohol, Nityananda was drunk on love of God, and the three of them were acting the same. Totally unrational, unreasonable. So what can we expect from Lord Nityananda? Nothing rational, nothing reasonable. Which means that once we ask for help, he starts to intercede in our life. And he'll intercede when and where he likes. He'll change everything for us. We're getting into some little gratification, and Lord Nityananda will come and put a little salt in our sweet rice. and we'll always know it's him. Once you turn to him and ask for his help, when you start getting it, you always recognize him. I implore you, really, take to this. Just take to Lord Nityananda like this. Ask him for help sincerely to help you become a servant. And he'll transform your life. And we think we're good at Sankirtan, and all of a sudden something will happen and we're not. I thought I was good at Sankirtan at book distribution in Dublin many years ago. And I was quite proud of my ability and my scores. It's always the scores. And I was distributing books to a guy, and I had this humdinger of a mantra where I would just say, are you from Dublin? And he would stop and everything, and I'd say, do you know who you are? And we'd start a conversation based on that. That was interesting, innovative. No one else did anything like this. I did. And so I was doing my thing, and this guy just looked at me. He had the book in his hand, and he said, yeah, okay, I get that, but what do you think about this? And I thought, this guy's an idiot. I just told him, my humdinger of a mantra. I told him what I thought. So I said it all again. And he said, no, I'm interested in what you think. I didn't understand even what he was talking about. So he was giving the book back. And it suddenly struck me. I blew it here. Just something happened here, and I blew it. I didn't even understand this guy. And I started to feel a bit ashamed. And I remembered 2 mornings before that, we had read a letter. Prabhupada's letters hadn't been published, but we used to get them in photocopied form, just one at a time. And this letter where Prabhupada talked about book distribution, and he said, what good will your 3-minute lecture do? And I was just thinking, it was my 3-minute lecture that blew it. I missed the point entirely. I've actually got in the way of Krishna. Anyway, this is all going through your head in a flash. And this guy said, how do you feel now? And just because he caught me in that moment, I was actually totally honest with him. And I said, I feel like I've let down my spiritual master. I've tried to give you a book, but I stood in the way of it. And that's not something you share with a guy on the street. It just came out. And the guy, he took the book, gave £1, and he said, that's what I was waiting for. And walked away. And I was left standing there like an idiot because I was an idiot. And he just proved it. And I immediately got the feeling of Lord Nityananda. I immediately understood, I know who's behind this. This is one of those times. Lord Nityananda is so personal. If you invite him into your life, he really comes in. He really takes over. And we can all have that experience just by asking him and just being open to him in our heart. He's with us every moment of every day. He's trying to help. He's the Chaitya Guru. He's manifesting gurus for us all over the place to teach us. This guy was a teacher from Galway in Ireland. Don't know his name, never saw him again, but he was my guru, without doubt. He was sent to teach me not to be an idiot. Trinada Peace and Ichana. Forget your mantra. Just try basic humility. It touches people's hearts. It's the reason why people will take a book. It's the reason why people will take to Krishna consciousness. When we meet people as members of the Sankirtan mission, our mission isn't to engage them in Krishna's service, to give everything, to direct them towards donations to the temple and service in the kitchens and various other things. That's not what the transaction is about. That's not what the relationship is about. The relationship is to share our heart with them, not to managerially engage them in some form of service. Krishna will take care of all that. If we give them Krishna, which is an exchange that happens heart to heart, if we have the ability to touch someone's heart from our own heart, it doesn't happen from the head, then they will transform their lives and they will give everything to Krishna. without talking about it. We don't have to make an issue about it. If they take to Krishna, they will eventually give everything to Krishna, guaranteed. All we have to do is help them appreciate Krishna, that Krishna loves them. And Krishna is there for them if they want it. All they have to do is ask. Lord Chaitanya is shouting from the rooftops, from the mountaintops, please chant Hare Krishna. Please worship Krishna. Please follow Krishna's instructions. This simple message in this Kali Yuga. That's all he's asking. And if we take to it, if we hear it, our lives will be transformed. And we're all here trying to do it. But there's so much more we can do with our hearts. We have to cultivate our hearts like a gardener. We have to do it every single day. We have to keep the weeds out every single day. And we need help to do that. We can't do it by ourselves. And that's why Lord Nityananda has come. He's come with Lord Chaitanya to be the entryway into this service, this connection with Lord Chaitanya. So there's some thoughts on the day of Nityananda Trayodasi. Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I think
Sonakar Rishi Prabhu Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Hare Krishna everyone. It's a very good opportunity hearing from Prabhu so much about Lord Nityananda and his mood of compassion. Like every year, at least for the last few years, you would recall that on this auspicious day, we inaugurate our Chaitanya Charitamrita Marathon here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. So I just want to make a couple of announcements in relation to that. That today onwards, we would like to try and distribute for the pleasure of Lord Nityananda, Srila Prabhupada, and our entire Guru Parampara, at least 200 Chaitanya Charitamrita set by the Gaur Purnima. Because as we just heard from Prabhuji, nothing pleased Nityananda more than pleasing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And back in the days when Chaitanya Charitamrita was about to go into the print, there were Prabhupada disciples with Prabhupada, and they asked Prabhupada that, how many sets would you like us to print? And everybody was thinking, those were the days Krishna book was a big thing if somebody distributed. And everybody was thinking maybe Prabhupada will say 500, he'll say 100, 200. And Prabhupada said, I want 10,000 cc sets to be printed. And then immediately the question one of the Prabhupada disciples asked, Prabhupada, you want us to distribute it to everyone? Yes, give it to everybody. Like Nityananda Prabhu, he did not distinguish between who's a fit candidate and who's not a fit candidate. And we know it. Sometimes people read Chaitanya Charitamrita and come to the moment, and sometimes people read going back to Godhead magazine. So it's really not down to us to decide which book will pick up, but what's important is to make those books available. We know that Srimad Bhagavatam is like a nectar, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, when it is mixed with the camphor, it becomes ambrosia. And that's what Chaitanya Charitamrita is. It's a garland of verses coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, given to us by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So you have a great opportunity to take part in this Sankirtan movement, as Prabhuji just said, by doing one of these ways. So you can either take a set and gift it to somebody. We have many languages: English, Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, Telugu, Tamil. Yeah, we have around 7 to 8 different languages of Chaitanya Charitamrita sets available here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. So if you know anybody from those backgrounds, feel free to give them one. Or if you don't have one, pick one today. We have a table outside. Devotees, Sadanandini Mataji and few other devotees will be at the table. Please come and take one. And we are also working with the villages in India where we are trying to propagate Krishna consciousness. And these people are being cultivated into Krishna consciousness, but they don't have a means to buy a Chaitanya Charitamrita set. So you can send a set of Chaitanya Charitamrita to the villages in India. We're about to launch, but at least if you want to express the interest, you can come and see us today at the table, and we can take down your details and contact you when we launch that initiative where we can send a set. Or finally, you can send a set to a friend in India, a relative in India who does not have a Chaitanya Charitamrita set, and it will be delivered to their home delivery like how Amazon does next day delivery. It will take few days, but we will deliver it for you in India. We've been doing it with Bhagavatam and other books of Srila Prabhupada. So last year we did 165 sets. At Bhaktivedanta Manor, we have taken a pledge to increase our book distribution by 20% every year. And each one of you can help us in that goal by coming forward and by helping. Actually, we're not helping each other. We are trying to help ourselves for our purification when we give out Prabhupada books. We just heard couple of some really nice stories from Prabhuji actually. So that's my humble plea to everybody. In some form or other, ask the question to the friend, to the person sitting next to you. Do you have a set? Do you want to give a set to someone? And just pick up ones while we have them available. The Goswamis used to write them on a leaf. You know, we did not have books, but now the BBD, thanks to the BBD, Titikshu Prabhu is here, we have the books available and they're printed in mass quantity. For what? For us to read and to distribute it to others actually. So that's my humble request. And finally, the next announcement is at 11 o'clock, Harinam is going in Watford, and there'll be book distribution there. Rasika Rai Prabhu is here. Rasika Rai Prabhu is here. Okay, Rasika Rai Prabhu is heading the book distribution part, so please, if you want to go out and get involved on this special day and give out some Srila Prabhupada books to the people on the Watford High Street, then by all means join them this morning at 11 o'clock. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you again, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I'm just looking for 2 coins. If I could see them again. And just remember, your word for the day is help. Think of help. I'm Nityananda. Every time you think Nityananda, think help. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. His Grace Shonakrishi Prabhu Ki Jai. Okay, so now it is time for pick. So we're going to start Kirtan. Vani here is going to start Kirtan, but what we need to do, we need to move everything back about 2 feet, more if we can. So yeah, so you need to stand up and come around. And then if the 2 gentlemen can help drag the whole thing back all the way to where the chairs are. Okay, and he's going to do the Kirtan. We're going to set up for the Abhishek while the Kirtan's going on. If you want to do the Abhishek, you need to be second initiated and altar clean and wearing a chadar, traditional attire. And we're going to queue up this way. So there's only one queue, no men, women queue. Please don't go on the stage unless you're doing something there with the deities. So the queue is this way. All men and women, just one queue. So please queue up this side. Altar clean, Brahmins, and in traditional chadar attire. Hare Krishna. Krishna Prastaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatya Deshatadine.
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastata Deshatari.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta.
Jaya Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Nitai Gaurang
Nitai Gauranga
Nitai Gauranga
Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga
Nitai Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Go. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Nitai Nitai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Nityananda Ram Eka Chakradhar Oh Nityananda Ram Eka Chakradhar Oh Nityananda Ram Eka Chakradhar Oh Nityananda Ram Eka Chakradhar Nityananda Ram Eka Chakradhar Nityananda Ram Eka Chakradhar Gaura 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 Hari Gaura 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 Hari Nitai 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 Gaura 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 Hari Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nitai Gauranga Gaura Hari Nitai,
Jai
Nitai,
Nitai.
Nitai, Nitai Gauranga.
Jai Gaura. Jai Nitai, Nitai Gauranga.
Oh Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Nitai, 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 Nitai.
Nitai Gauranga.
Oh Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga.
Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga.
Oh Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga.
Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga.
Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Oh Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Oh Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Jaya Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram. Nitai! Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram. Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram. Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram. Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram. Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Nitai Gauranga. Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Nitai Gauranga. Nitai, Nitai, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai, Nitai, Nitai Gauranga. Oh Nitai, Nitai, Nitai Gauranga. Oh Nitai, Nitai, Nitai Gauranga. Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai. Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, thank you for joining us for the festival so far. Just a quick announcement before you go. It's an important announcement about the feast. Hare Krishna, everybody, quick and important announcement about the feast. Haribol, Haribol. Now that I have your attention, there's Harinam in Watford at 11 o'clock. So please make your way there. There's also book distribution. If you've never done it before, there'll be people to show you how to do it. There'll be books as well. So there's Harinam and book distribution in Watford. You can meet them in Watford High Street outside Cafe Nero now. If you leave now, they're going to start at 11. So please join the Harinam, or you can stay here if you like. But please join the Harinam and then come back here for 1:30. That's when the feast is. And it'll be in the hall opposite. Okay, the hall's opposite. The entrance will be through the shoe room. So you take your shoes off, go in through that side like they do on a Sunday. Okay, so that'll be at 1:30. But Harinam now. Thank you for joining us today. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, if you are going on the Harinam, there is no minibus. The minibus is being used for something else, so you have to make your own way there. There's cars, you can car share and stuff like that. Hare Krishna.